So we're back with another A2K. This is episode 7 we're covering, and this is where they do the vocal evaluations. And the girls here are practicing until the very last minute. And here's the thing, this is only a 1 day difference between this episode and the day before. So it's not like they got to take the feedback and then spend a month working on it. This is literally the next day, apparently. And so they're still carrying criticism with both the nerves of having whatever evaluation they had. Most got good evaluations, 3 did not. And then they also have pretty much no time to make changes. They have to practice with the day they have. And so this is JYP now coming up. He's going to tell them singing is about delivering a story and talking with notes. So let's just get right into the trainees. There's 4 trainees this episode. KG, Kendall, Kaylee, and Melissa. So we'll just get into those right away. Let's go to the first one. So KG here. So in the last time JP saw her, he was impressed by her vocals. The last time she sang, at least. And apparently, I said that she uses her voice like an instrument, and there's a style to it. And for me, I'm okay with that. But JYP, he wants more authenticity. And then there's also this kind of weird moment in the show where JYP's going, or like making these moaning sounds, and Chad was going wild. He did it like 3 times, and then Chad kept saying, "No, stop, JYP, please." And anyways, she sang, and what do you know? She has a beautiful voice, right? Like the sound coming out was just like, I don't mind the odd uses of it, which I feel like she still had in real time. When I was looking, I was like, it's not quite the way she talks yet, but it's very pure, and I like the way it sounds. And she does still have like a few, I'm not even sure how you say it, like inflections or ways she sings. But according to JYP, when he was criticizing it, he said she still has a bit of a country twang, but she did have good qualities can't be taught, apparently. And so he really liked her singing, and he loved it a lot, and she ended up getting a vocal stone. And so KG is probably the first person to have 2 stones in the show, and I think she's doing great. She looks great, she's singing great, she's dancing great, and I think she's, well, not dancing great, but she's dancing in a way that he thinks that she has potential. And so I feel like her journey so far is she's on a good track, and if she can improve by the time she gets to, I think they go to Korea to properly train, and like they have to also do team exercises and stuff. By the time she gets to the end, she will probably be a force to be reckoned with. And so that's KG. The next one is Kendall. And so, Kendall, as soon as she shows up, she's like gulping, basically, right? And JYP, he can't wait to hear it. But the previews, they're kind of suspicious. And she's like trying to prepare the audience, saying she has allergy problems or something, right? And this is actually what you would consider beneficial editing, because the show is giving her an excuse if she doesn't do that well, right? Like normally, you would only do that if you expected her to do better. But I don't think that her allergy played a bearing on how well or how poorly she sings, and so that's just something that I wrote in real time. But then she actually sings, and you know what? I actually thought she sung in a very unique way, and you can tell it's naturally her voice, but she does need practice. What it actually reminded me of is, there's a lot of VTubers who kind of like sing with the small voice, and she has that naturally small voice, and so hers is actually, when she's singing, it actually sounds more mature than her speaking voice, I would say. But you actually hear like these VTubers, and they have small voices like that, and they also sing with a very like sweet kind of like high pitched like kind of singing as well. But for her, basically, I think that her voice is good. She did struggle in the highs, and she had to I noticed that she had to shift when she couldn't finish a note, and so, but I actually think she can get there, and so I actually like her singing. But actually, the chat didn't like her singing. That's what I noticed. The chat was really against it, and I don't know. I guess she did have a lot of issues. Now, according to JYP, his criticisms were that he could tell she wasn't confident, and he noted that she couldn't maintain a note. And so how that relates to what I said is that, oh yeah, she was on that high note, and then she shifted. And sometimes people do that, right? Like if you can't carry the note, you do it in steps, and so you shift and shift and shift, and that's what she did, I guess. But he does like the way she expresses herself, and he ended up giving her a stone because he thought that she was being authentic and being her true self, which I actually agree with here. And she ended up crying for joy, basically. So this now here's the thing. This is the first time we actually see like really raw, pure emotions out of Kendall. And if you guys look at my criticism of her from the first episode, it wasn't really criticism. It was actually a warning. So you go back to the first episode, the one I reviewed, and you'll see my warning. Don't show too much of her in terms of like fluffing her up until she shows her personality. And I said that was a very fair warning, because if you're gonna say stuff like she has charisma, right, or visuals, then it's gonna be a lot of people are gonna hold it with resentment, and a lot of people aren't gonna connect with the charisma or visuals until we can connect with her on a personal level. And so you have to show her personality before you show too much of the other thing, right? And so I was kind of warning about that. I kind of knew that they would be favorable to her, but uh, that's what happens. Like you have to show. It's a similar to like someone who's kind of like almost like I would say Sana is kind of like this. If you're gonna show her a lot, you have to make sure that people understand her personality first, or else they're gonna misunderstand it. And that's where I'm coming from over there. But she did pretty good in my opinion. But more kind of in like you can see her potential, you could hear her real voice and where she's gonna go. And so there's like VTubers who sing like if you want to hear a good VTuber singer, there was this VTuber, I think her name is Gura, and she's like a shark, half shark person, and she sings like this one of the best renditions of "Fly Me to the Moon." And so you can actually go listen to that. That's an example of how good they can get. So I feel like she's like not close to there, but she can actually get there because she has a naturally small voice. And I was actually surprised because I thought she would have kind of like a Valley Girl voice, but then she turns out like she actually has a small voice, and so this is actually a positive for her. Now the next person up is Kaylee, and according to the previews, she did really good in the first time we saw her. But I guess she had. I don't know if she had like anything to work on. I don't remember it at this point. But when she actually did sing, I have notes here that say she's got a good voice. And I noticed that when she stumbled on the second hello, uh, it was kind of like her voice wasn't opening up for the note. And she started off with a broken hello, basically, kind of like hello, kind of like she couldn't do it. And she seemed to lose breath on several notes, which is kind of odd because if I do recall, in the first time we saw her, apparently she taught herself how to breathe correctly. But in this case, she wasn't doing a good job of it, and she was very nervous. You can actually see visibly, and she had some odd transitions as well. I think she was overreaching in some notes actually, because it seemed like she couldn't quite do it, and that's my impression of it. Now, from JYP's perspective, he took it from a different angle, and he said he could barely feel her emotions, and she seemed more intense, and she rushed ahead of the song. Now, I didn't notice the rushing. I did notice weird transitions. Maybe that's the same thing. Uh, but then they showed a preview of her kind of extending a note to keep in time with the music. So would you call that rushing or being too slow? This is the same conversation we had in the last one with the dancing. But anyways, she ended up crying, which reminds me that I do have a bingo card, but I think I already checked it off. But I feel like this is the true uh, this is the true way to check off that box where she cried here. This is the true meaning for that bingo box for crying, as you can see here in the middle left. Girl cries. But anyways, she said he actually questioned her, why did she not do better? And she really did not have a good answer him, and then she broke down and cried. And she said she doesn't know and she wasn't sure. Which I was like, when she was saying that, I was like, oh, be careful. Don't say that out loud because that's what he's looking for. He's looking for uh, that's basically what she was praised for, is her intelligence and ability to know how to improve and how to like take feedback and how to know like how does that relate to how she's supposed to sing. So in that moment when she was just crying and saying she doesn't know, hopefully he just understood as at that moment she was too overwhelmed to answer. But anyways, for her trouble, she did not get a stone. And JYP did give some consolation after a while, saying that she's only 12 years old and he's not expecting perfection from her. But he did go kind of hard, I think. Well, he was a bit insensitive, I think. He was kind of pushing instead of like not in a nice way, I feel like. and then he was kind of laughing at as well when she was broke down. So he was kind of like in disbelief a little bit, and it seemed like maybe he panicked as much as she did in that moment. But anyways, that's Kaylee. She didn't get a stone. I'm kind of disappointed in that. I thought she would do way better. Uh, and then we get to Melissa, who was the last trainee. What the heck happened to Melissa, by the way? Like, her look is like she had the hair up now. She actually did the reverse of what Camille did, because Camille, she had her hair down. Camilla, she had her hair down, and then in the next one she had her hair up, and now it seems like Melissa's doing the same thing, but it's not. It's in reverse because Camilla's hair is back down again. But anyways, JYP said she looked relaxed, and there's just a different vibe about her, and I agree. She actually looks more like ready to go now compared to the other time. And the other time she was like kind of like, I noticed she was last to get off her chair at the end of the show, and she just seemed like very passive. But now she seemed like she's kind of like ready to fight, like she processed it, and now she's okay. But in terms of her performance, she was very good. I could tell that with the way she was interpreting the song, she nailed some really good parts, and then there were some parts which looked like she was kind of improvising them, or they looked like she chose to take those paths which were unsure, and so I can tell that she was a little unsure about some of the things that she was doing. There was room for improvement in certain sections where she could have gone a little bit further, but she was already pretty high when she was doing like some of those big notes and stuff. So otherwise, I thought it was actually really great. And JYP, he actually like tilted his head back, like she actually gets off the chair here. He tilts his head back, and she actually says that she is amazing, and you can tell that she is very much a different kind of person. He compared her to Mary J. Blige, and she said that she made unexpected changes to the song, and so he was actually like very surprised with the things that she was doing in the song. Like, he was singing along at first, and then he couldn't sing along, I guess, because she made changes. And how that relates to what I said is that she did make vocal choices here. And it wasn't like how the song was originally interpreted as. If you were just copying the person who originally interpreted the song, then you could know how they do it and how to maximize the good parts for the song. But if you take your own path with it, then I can understand her being a little unsure there. And so with that regard, I would say she was very bold, and she was like, you could tell that she actually made an effort here. And so for her trouble, she got a vocal stone, and she was doing very well. And a lot of people also, I think she did probably the best of this episode, which is kind of also kind of unexpected, because I thought KG would do the best. But in my opinion, if I was to listen to both Melissa and KG, in my personal opinion, I think KG did do the best, because I did not have any problem with her performance, right? Whereas there were problems with the other performances, including Melissa's, because like I said, when she was going down certain paths in terms of how she interprets the song, and this is a stylistic kind of like criticism as well. When she was going down certain paths, I could tell she was unsure where she was going, because she was kind of like you know how you put your foot on the gas pedal, and if you know where you're going, you step it. You give it just enough give to go the right ways, right? But if you're unsure, then you're like kind of like not really giving it the right amount, kind of like pausing and not really sure. You can tell that she was doing that. So they ended on a high note with Melissa, but I do still think that KG did the best. But I think a lot of people were really blown away by Melissa as well. And people always love like the underdog who kind of just like comes out of nowhere and does better. And so that is basically this episode. And I feel like it was very, very entertaining as well. They did show previews, but I'm not going to spoil them because I'm not interested in spoilers. I don't like to be like manipulated into like believing one way or the other based on previews which could be totally edited and faked and stuff. So that's that. Also, last thing I'll mention is that I did notice I actually got a lot of hate on my video based on had to do with like at certain points people stopped viewing, or people gave downvotes. And then I also heard through the grapevine that there was a lot of Kendall hate, which I don't support, by the way. I don't think you should hate on one or be unfairly mean to any of them. Now, in my last video, I can see that I was probably critical of Kendall, but I don't think I was mean to her. I think I was actually extremely fair to everybody. And when I said, like, really, she got second place, she should get sixth place, I would look online and I would see that other people had her in 5th and 6th place as well. And so it's not like we're being mean. I would say we're being fair. I think that if someone interprets it as being mean, then they're kind of interpreting it as, well, I would say that they're being favorable rather than unbiased. And so naturally people are going to have a bias and I'm fine with it. And naturally I know that JYP and his judges also have inborn bias. It might even be cultural. Like JYP may not even realize it. He may have an inborn bias. Like I know that Korea is very like big on like your certain visuals and the way you look, and also he's like been following K-pop for a while, and so when you say like she fits K-pop aesthetic, you can tell he's actually suffering from a bias himself. But anyways, I thought I was being fair. I'm not aware of any like big hate that she gets. I don't actually follow a lot of what people talk about online. I try to be like as uncontaminated as I can, but I do look up like ratings and stuff to see like what people think and stuff, and I do look at the chat when I'm watching the show live, and so there's that. But anyways, I actually thought Kendall did pretty good this episode, and so I don't know, is that is that being hateful or anything? But I don't think I am. But anyways, I guess that's it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down and let us know why in the comment box. If you don't voice your opinion, you're not going to change the world. Finally, if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next